Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. As promised, today we're going to test the stopping power of 454 Casull and then compare it to the 44 Remington Magnum it was designed to surpass in performance. I think most people would conceptualize that testing 454 and even 44 Rem Mag for that matter at a normal FBI distance really doesn't give you a whole lot of useful information. So what I've done is I've set up gel block with some cardboard backing at around 25 yards or a reasonable hunting distance, perhaps by most people's standard, just to see how much power it actually has at that range most people would be comfortable hunting at. Obviously, you could use the gun as a much more close encounter for dangerous game kind of backup weapon, but let's see how much of a predatory nature it has when you're actually trying to dispatch game with it. So, going to take some pristine shots at our gel block with the 44 solely, and then we'll run it off with 44 Rem Mag. Now, keep in mind, I haven't fired either one of these guns before. I was lucky enough to borrow the FIREARMS from a good friend of the channel, Dave Morrison, and as well as the 44. So, bear with me. Hopefully we won't miss too much because I understand shooting the 44 Casull can be a bit painful. So, we'll find out. The bullets we're going to use for today's demonstration are Barnes Vortex 250 grain hollow point, and I don't mind telling you, they are some sinister looking guys. FIREARMS, of course, is single action, so you have kind of a old school cowboy kind of load system for it. Always still really cool though. Okay, so here we go. Maiden voyage on the gel block. Try to get more in line with the block. Well, that time I appear to be a little left into the gel block, but we hit it. So I'm going to try to adjust over for our viewers at home. Not painful, but definitely not shootable related to quick follow-up shots, believe me. So I'm going to try to adjust my aim just a bit here. Try to get one more down the center. There we go. Right down the middle. Let's go see. That first one, you can see I hit it a little off center, not used to the gun, haven't ever fired it before. You have a massive cavitation and then whoop, this sort of hole made here. Version 2, I tried to go more in the middle, was successful at going in the middle. Interesting finding is that it looks to me like the round is still in there. So, Matt, would you say that's still in there? So, what I originally thought might be a piece or potentially the whole round is not. You have a straight line through and into the cardboard. So let's see how far the Barnes Vortex penetrated into the cardboard. And of course, we'll use the center one since it hit more material. 2. And if I reveal, oh, it's just like a baby. Look at this rascal. Holy good Lord. Well, that should be the poster child for Barnes Vortex. We're through 16 inches of gel block, couple 3 pieces of compressed cardboard, which would be 2, not 3. Found it in the third one. And wow. True rifle power from a handgun. Absolutely. So, continuing on with the video, I'm going to try to take the 44 Rem Mag and put it in the gel block, just as we did with the Casull. The ammunition for today is Remington 240 grain semi-jacketed hollow point. So let's see how well it does compared to the Casull. Remember, Casull went into 2 of the pieces of cardboard after gel block, but some of that has to do with bullet design. The barrel lengths at 7.5 inches are the same, which I chose on purpose, so it's a little more of a fair demonstration or comparison. So there's a hit. I'm gonna try to put another one in there. Hit number 2. So we got a worm burner right here, barely off the bottom. That's kind of cool. You can see it pinch here, and then we have one more dead center. So without moving too much, what I'm going to try to do is find the mystical hole. Remember, 454 went into 2. Nope. 1. Ooh, look. It is not in the second one either. Not in 3. Not in 4. So, this bullet design actually did quite well. It penetrated 4 more pieces of cardboard than the Casull. It mushroomed up nicely. It seemed to retain a large portion of its weight, and depending on the game you're hunting, and if you would happen to need more penetration, there's an argument for this actually doing better than that particular version of Barnes Vortex bullet that we use for the 454. So, one of the lessons to take away from all of this is it's not all about raw horsepower. Sometimes bullet design is as important as the horsepower pushing it. You can't really tell from my worm burner shot how much cavitation there would be, but the one that hit slightly higher, it looks ferocious. It is as equal or certainly on par with the 454. So, to the naked eye, there is no discernible difference between these two. Now, performance-wise, I can tell you, at least to me, I don't shoot a lot of revolver, the recoil impulse is relatively the same. Perhaps, if I had to put a number on it, 5 to maybe 10% at the most more than the 44 Rem Mag. But if you get a heavy enough revolver with a long enough barrel, they're all about the same, at least to me. Later on, we're going to try a demonstration like this with 500 Smith and see how all of that works. So, interestingly enough, back to horsepower, depending on the bullet manufacturer, and perhaps if you load your own, the material available out there as far as load data would suggest that the 454 can move out at maybe twice the speed of 44 Rem Mag. That depends, obviously, on how it's loaded. In this case, it wasn't true. It was just a couple of 100 feet per second difference, speed increase or advantage to the Casull. But at the end of the day, is that a huge difference? Probably not. Meaning this, if you get a full-powered 44 Rem Mag cartridge, it moves out at relatively the same speed as some 454s. Now, what makes that concept somewhat null and void is whether you load your own or what bullet you potentially would purchase. For instance, Buffalo Bore, companies like that are known for making some immensely strong cartridges regardless of the caliber. So you'll have to do a little research if you want to actually get the full advantage of the 454 Casull. Barnes Vortex may not do it, but for me, I want to just kind of compare a sort of middle-of-the-road ham and egg ammo readily available for both platforms. All of this brings us to our concluding point. If your purpose is to have an immensely powerful handgun cartridge, 44 Remington Magnum checks a lot of boxes. I personally find from today's demonstration the 454 to be a little bit nichey. I would have to study it in greater depth to decide if it's truly more accurate because of its speed advantage. But I think for the average person, if you think your life would be saved by 454 versus 44 Rem Mag, I'm not sure I'm a believer. I find the two to be fairly close in performance, and the 44 being more readily available seems to make it a more popular choice, at least to me.